Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're tracing a truly fascinating journey. We're going to explore exactly how a nation builds, shapes, and ultimately verifies public trust. It's a life cycle of leadership, right? And it starts way before anyone actually steps into a government office. We're kicking things off at the foundational level of education, looking at one pioneering secondary school, and then taking that all the way up to the rigorous, high-stakes crucible of parliamentary vetting for top public officials.
Here's our roadmap for today. We'll be covering the Mpelembe Foundation, adapting education for tomorrow, the parliamentary vetting crucible, collaborative security checks, diversity in national media, and we'll wrap up with independent oversight. Let's jump right in.
Section 1. The Mpelembe Foundation.
All right, let's take a look at this timeline. Because Mpelembe isn't just a school, it's practically a mirror of the nation's history. It actually started way back in 1934 as a basic school during the colonial era in Luanshya. But its modern identity, as this elite educational powerhouse, really took shape in 1983. That's when the Zambia Consolidated Copper Mines, or ZCCM, opened a brand new campus designed specifically to be a meritocratic hub for future engineers, doctors, and leaders. Then, during the privatization wave in 1998, stewardship transitioned over to the Catholic Church. This turned it into a nonprofit, community-supported institution that's laser-focused on both academic and moral rigor.
Now, what makes Mpelembe's academic architecture so effective is its dual curriculum system. It seamlessly merges the Zambian national curriculum, the ECZ, with international Cambridge IGCSE and A-level standards. This dual pathway is brilliant because it ensures students are deeply rooted in their national context while still remaining incredibly competitive on a global scale. This is especially true in STEM fields like engineering and medicine, which, as you might guess, has been a core focus ever since its mining industry days.
Section 2. Adapting education for tomorrow. A prime example of how this historic institution adapts is that Mpelembe was literally the first to implement distance learning at the high school level. By adopting Google Workspace for education, they successfully integrated Google Classroom and Google Meet directly with student ISS email addresses. And this is absolutely crucial. It creates a highly structured distance learning environment, ensuring continuous education. It keeps students connected to that rigorous curriculum through digital platforms, no matter what external circumstances throw their way.
Now, what's really interesting about this slide is the direct link between that foundational education and national leadership. Looking at these notable alumni, pay special attention to William Bowley Nyamranda and Andrew Dean Wansa-Mumba. These two prominent legal minds were shaped in this exact educational environment. And, as you'll see in a moment, they are the very individuals who later found themselves nominated for some of the highest public offices. Let's move on and see how this builds into the next phase of our journey. Section 3. The Parliamentary Vetting Crucible.
So think about this for a second. When the president nominates someone to a new ministerial or high-level statutory position, like the Judicial Complaints Commission or the Auditor General, how does a nation actually ensure they're above reproach? Because these roles are the absolute guardians of the rule of law and public resources. Well, the answer is the Parliamentary Select Committee. Think of the vetting process as a massive, multi-layered filter. Step 1, the committee receives the nominees. Step 2, rigorous security checks are initiated. Then, in Step 3, memoranda and reviews are gathered from independent professional bodies. And finally, Step 4, the nominees undergo direct, face-to-face committee interviews. It's a highly structured sequence designed specifically to guarantee unquestionable professional integrity before anyone is officially cleared to lead.
Section 4. Collaborative security background checks.
The committee doesn't just take one agency's word for it. They bring in a whole network of specialized agencies, each acting independently based on their own specific legal mandate. The Zambia Police checks criminal records and general character. The Anti-Corruption Commission scans their databases for any past or pending corruption investigations. Meanwhile, the Drug Enforcement Commission specifically hunts for narcotics or money laundering violations, and the Financial Intelligence Center zeroes in on any suspicious financial transactions. It's a massive collaborative web, ensuring literally no stone is left unturned.
Now, a really crucial point raised during one of the committee's vetting sessions was the timeline. The Commissioner of Police noted that thorough vetting ideally requires 2 full weeks for local inquiries and a whole month for foreign ones. But in high-pressure political environments, time is usually pretty short. However, the police emphasized that by heavily leveraging modern technology and databases, they were still able to conduct highly satisfactory checks despite those tight turnaround times.
Section 5. Diversity in national media.
And this brilliantly illustrates the sheer power of having a diverse skill set on a national board.
Look at the nominees for the Zambia National Broadcasting Corporation, or ZNBC. You don't just see a room full of journalists. You've got Simon Boda bringing high-level competitive pay TV and business strategy to the table. Dr. Sarah Kalule brings change management and education. Patricia Mwase offers deep marketing and regulatory experience, while Mary Kazalimani brings life coaching, team dynamics, and financial administration. Combining these distinct, varied professional backgrounds vastly improves a public broadcaster's ability to adapt and strategize. It's a real game changer.
But beyond just professional background, the committee is also bound by the Constitution to evaluate demographic diversity. Post-appointment, this board's makeup was 5 females to 3 males, which prompted the committee to rightly commend the strong gender representation. However, they also neutrally observed, and officially recommended, that future appointments really need to address regional diversity to fully comply with Article 259 of the Constitution. It's just a great, clear example of the committee holding the appointing authorities strictly accountable to constitutional standards.
Section 6. Independent Oversight and Integrity.
So the state security agencies aren't the only ones checking in on these nominees. Independent watchdogs play an absolutely massive role here. For instance, the Human Rights Commission evaluates a nominee's fundamental commitment to transparency and public accountability. The Media Institute of Southern Africa, or MISA Zambia, steps in to ensure media nominees actually align with progressive policy directions. The Law Association of Zambia rigorously confirms the legal standing of judicial appointees. And Transparency International Zambia conducts really intense tests on a nominee's independence, objectivity, and overall background authenticity.
To see exactly how this plays out in real time, let's look at a fascinating contrast from the committee's report comparing different types of vetting. The nominees for the Judicial Complaints Commission, which included Mpelembe, alumni Nyarenda, and Mumba, well, they were straightforwardly endorsed by everyone. Their decades of legal experience perfectly matched the role. However, the nominee for Auditor General, Dr. Sichembe, faced some intense scrutiny. Watchdogs like Transparency International pointed out that while he was a highly qualified accountant general, a new 2016 law technically required strict auditing experience. Ultimately, because that specific law hadn't been fully operationalized just yet, his vast accounting experience was deemed sufficient. But this entire debate just highlights exactly how rigorous and precise this independent oversight can be.
So the core of all this is perfectly summed up in this statement by the Law Association of Zambia regarding the Judicial Complaints Commission. The JCC requires men and women of candor, integrity, courage, and sobriety to ensure that judges are accountable to the people. And honestly, that is the ultimate criteria. Whether you're running the national broadcaster, auditing the nation's finances, or keeping judges accountable, unquestionable professional integrity is entirely non-negotiable. Which brings us to our final thought today. We've seen how the foundation of leadership is laid in the rigorous, pioneering digital classrooms of schools like Mpelembe, and how that foundation is much later tested in the intense vetting rooms of Parliament. So I leave you with this. From the digital classrooms of Mpelembe to the highest vetting rooms of Parliament, who is preparing your nation's next generation of unimpeachable leaders? Thank you for joining me for this explainer. Keep learning and keep asking the big questions.